What's going on, guys? Today we are doing the Count to 10 with me book tag. I saw this book tag on Break Even Books channel, and I think it's going to be really fun. If it's going to be really difficult, but it is going to be fun. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so the questions in this tag all follow through numbers 1 to 10. These are some very difficult questions. They ask you to get a physical book for some of them, but I don't have a lot of physical books, so I'm going to include books that I have on Kindle. But without further ado, the first question. I'm leaning over here to look at my notebook. The first book in a series. So for this one, I chose The Hunger Games because this is one of my favorite series. It's a great book. You've probably already read it if you have read books. It's pretty old at this point, but it is a great book. So, The Hunger Games. Yeah, I don't even feel like I really need to describe it at this point. Basically, a bunch of kids get shoved into an arena to fight to the death as the government's method of controlling the population. Yeah, it's a great book. Number 2, 2 or more copies. So, as I said, I don't own a lot of books, so I don't know on this one. I do not really own a lot of books, so I don't have 2 copies of any books or 1 copy of very many books. So I don't really have anything for this one. I feel bad just skipping a question, but I really don't have anything, so I'm sorry about that, but I do not have anything. 3 colors on the cover for question 3. For this one, I chose Scythe. It has this gray, it has this yellow, it has red, and it has black. I know there's some gradients on the red, but I mean, come on. So yeah, Scythe has 3 colors on the cover. It's a great book. I've done a few videos where I talk about Scythe already, so I don't want to talk about it again, because that's just going too much. So, 3 colors on the cover, though. Scythe. I would highly recommend it. It's a 5-star read. 4 or more perspectives in the book. So, I had trouble with this one, but I came up with 2. My first option is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This one uses a third-person type narrative where it cuts back and forth between a ton of different characters. There's no lead narrator or character. It's just kind of a saga of these people's journey and stuff through space. So that was it's really funny. I would highly recommend The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And the other one was The Toll, which is the 3rd book in the Scythe series, so I didn't want to explicitly say that because I already talked about Scythe. I don't own a copy of The Toll. But I did a 1-minute review of The Toll, so you can check that out on my channel after you're done watching this video, if you do want to learn more about it, because it was an amazing read. I would highly recommend the whole arc of the Scythe series. The next one is a 5-star read. So, I am going to pick a random one from my 5-star list right here. How about The Future of Us? So, I just picked a random one from my 5-star list for this one. And I ended up with The Future of Us. This is a great book. It had an amazing setup. Basically, these people in the 80s or 90s or somewhere around there log on to AOL internet and find themselves on Facebook 15 years in the future. So then it goes into this whole kind of time travel-y sort of plot where they're changing stuff in the present to affect the stuff in the future, and it is really interesting. Really great book. So The Future of Us. By the way, all these books will be linked in the description if you do want to check any of them out. But that was a great setup, great book. Question 6 was 6 or more short stories. Now, I haven't read many anthologies recently, so this was a pretty tough one, to be honest. But I ended up with 2. One was Whodunit, which was a collection of authors. And the only reason I wouldn't just say this one is because they weren't really short stories, they were more testimonies. Basically, the basis of this book was all of these authors were suspects in a murder, and they had to write their own defense. So it was a great read. I would highly recommend it, but it wasn't really short stories. The other one, a bit of shameless self-promotion. I've taken part in an anthology called Within the Broken Minds. It is a literary anthology subjected around fear, so all the stories contain fear in some way. It's not out yet, but if you do want to check it out, keep an eye out. I'll add a link in the description of this video when it does come out, hopefully, if I remember to do that. So, yeah, shameless self-promotion, but you know, that's the only two I can come up with. A 7 on the cover or the spine. So, I came up with 2, only because I haven't read one of them, but the first one is All Rights Reserved. The cover design has a ton of text on it, so there is a 7 in there. I'll add it in, when I edit this video, I'll put a picture of the cover up there. Somewhere, kind of over here or something, I think. So, it's gonna be there, so there's a 7 on there somewhere, I guarantee. And then also Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows has a 7 on the spine, but I've not read that yet. I'm still working on the 5th book of Harry Potter. I'm reading it with my dad, so it's slow going, but we're working on it. We'll get there. The 8th question is an 8-letter title, in 8 letters in the title. And this was actually way harder than I thought it would be. I thought this would just be like, okay, go through all the books I read. Okay, there's 8 letters, done. But it is really difficult to find a title with exactly 8 letters. But I ended up with The Giver, which I read fairly recently is why it came to mind. But it has 8 letters in the title, Thegiver. And it was a great dystopian book about a world with no color, no feelings, and one person who has to hold all of the good and bad memories of the past. So that was a great 5-star read. I would highly recommend that one. Now, question 9 was a book that ends on a page ending in a 9. This was kind of tedious to find, but I ended up with this one, The Book of Useless Information. Now, I know it's not a fiction. I usually talk about fiction on this channel, but I love this book, and I have another one. The Book of Interesting Knowledge, I have another one in this series, and these are so fun to read. It's just, like, you go through it. Each fold has some kind of random facts on it, subjected around a theme. Like, this one is Amazing Facts About the United States. This one is the Cottingley Ferry hoax. The Cottingley Ferry hoax. And then the last one, the actual content ends on page 679, about Canadian slang. So I would highly recommend these books if you just like random tidbits of trivia and stuff, as I do. I have the Book of Useless Information and the Book of Interesting Knowledge is over on my shelf over there. I don't know if it ends in a 9, though. So, the last question is question 10. 10 books in a series, and I'm sorry, but I could not find a series that I have read with 10 books in it. So, I'm sorry, but, couldn't come up with one for this. So, yeah, same with question 2 or more copies, and 10 books in the series. I don't read series that are too long, and, 10 is a bit long for a series. But yeah, that looks like all the questions in this tag. This was really fun. I'll tag a few channels down in the description. I saw this tag on Break Even Books, which is a great channel. I would recommend go checking it out. Links to all the books I talked about will be in the description, along with my Goodreads link and the link to my Discord server. If you want to join on Goodreads, you can see everything that I'm reading. I will post a review of every single book that I finish. Please subscribe. I would really like to get to 30 subscribers before September 15th. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.